It's 9:30 Eastern, the time zone with the firmest handshakes. That means it's time for the Devy Debate. What am I afraid to say publicly about Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz? What am I afraid to say publicly about Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz? What am I afraid to say publicly about Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz? I think that the high-end comp for Graham Mertz is Peyton Manning. I think that the high-end comp for Graham Mertz is Peyton Manning.
Awesome.
Don't all talk at once.
I have zero idea what to say to that.
I'm going to let that one go. That's going to be the cut up. I'm throwing it on Twitter at the end of the show. I'm tagging Peyton Manning in it. Hopefully he responds. Maybe we'll get a Peyton's place where he breaks down Graham Mertz's game film and lets us know how close he is to him.
The title of the segment is Takes That You Are Afraid to Say Out Loud. That qualifier needs to be out there. This is a take that I'm afraid to say out loud, but I just did it.
You should
for you guys.
You should let that one out.
It was supposed to be takes that were so on the fringes, so out there that you risked being mocked and ridiculed, Austin. Made fun of, teased. Now, I played the game the right way, damn it. I played the game the right way. We have new listeners. Chris, you weren't even here. You weren't here back then. But takes we are afraid to say out loud. So I went out there on a limb with my take on Graham Mertz, thinking that my teammates, my boys, would go out, on the plank with me. They would follow me out there. What was Matthew's take? That Devonta Smith would win the Heisman, who was already projected to be a Heisman finalist, was having like the best season for a wide receiver in college football ever. What? Well, he followed my Graham Mertz take with the Heisman frontrunner is going to win the Heisman. That was his take that he was so afraid, that was out there on the fringes. That show aired on December 17th, and the Heisman finalists were announced on the next week, December 24th. Obviously, Devonta Smith was a Heisman finalist. Austin, to be honest with you, I can't even remember what your take was. I can't even remember what your fringe take that, you were so afraid to bring to the show, to bring to the microphone. I played the game the right way. That's all I'm going to say. And so we're going to bring it back. We're going to bring it back, you three, and see if you all play the game the right way. We're going to see. We're going to see tonight.
I mean, just for the record, for the people who may not have been able to listen to that episode, go back, episode 9. It was a lot of fun. Some debauchery was had at Felix's expense for his Graham Mertz take. Austin's take was, and it was actually, I think, a more plank following take than my Devonta Smith one. Though, again, I will state, Devonta Smith was a wide receiver. Last time we saw a wide receiver win the Heisman was God knows how long. He wasn't actually. I looked it up. I can pull the article up. thesportingnews.com. 3 days prior, did not even have Devonta Smith in the top 6 of Heisman favorites. It was all quarterbacks. So maybe it wasn't as out there as saying Devonta Smith was going to be the next Jerry Rice, which is probably what I needed to say to follow you. But it was still a worthy take. Austin's take was that Keaton Slovis is not an NFL quarterback. It's actually kind of a decent take at that time because there were a lot of people who were still very high on Keaton Slovis being like the next best thing.
It was bold for me.
It's got a point there, too.
This stuff's all relative.
Well, we're going to see. I've got, I think, three takes that are out, on the fringes or that I'm afraid to bring to the microphone. Before we get into that, gentlemen, the Devy Guide is out. I mean, the company has been around since March of 2021, a little over a year. We're trying to not only bring the Campus to Canton format to the masses, but also produce all of the content that you need for that format. We've already released the freshman and supplemental guide. We followed that up, available now for just $20. The Devy Guide. It's over 260 full profiles. Austin and Chris's, an explanation of their year 1-0 theory. I mean, this is a labor of love to us. We're working our behinds off. It's mostly Matthew putting that stuff together behind the scenes, and I'm sure he's glad that it's over. But we're trying to lay stakes in the industry, so to speak. We're just a couple of guys from all around the country who've kind of banded together to do this thing. But support us. Go ahead and buy the Devy Guide, $20, or if you're going to be an NIL member, get all three guides: the fresh supplemental guide, the Devy Guide that just came out yet this morning, and the CFF Guide, the College Fantasy Football Guide that will be coming out in a month or two here. You will get all of those as a part of your membership as a year-long NIL subscriber. And by the way, we advertise with a ton of folks now. So there are promo codes all over the place. Go watch Marcus Sharp on YouTube. Go listen to Rookie Fever now, who we have a partnership deal with, and go listen to Dynasty Trades HQ. We've got promo codes all over the place for you to take advantage of and for you to support the website. Austin, Matt, is there anything? I mean, what did you want to say about the guy, Matt? I mean, I got to turn the floor over to you because you did a lot of the heavy lifting on this thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off what you said on the partnerships we have, I mean, I hate to kind of take some money out of our pockets here, but most of those promo codes get you a decent amount off. And if you want to go the NIL yearly, $75 a year, but each of those guides cost $20. So realistically, you're going to pay $15 for all the other content you get. And then if you use a promo code, you're not even paying $15. Like, I'm telling you, Sharp Sports on YouTube, Dynasty HQ, Rookie Fever, use one of those promo codes. I promise you it'll be well worth it. Definitely check out the pod. It dropped this morning as well. It's on the Campus to Canton YouTube feed. We did a show, a bunch of us who worked on the guide. My biggest takeaway was just, for me, how much fun it was, even though how much work it was. Getting a chance to really sit and talk with Corey and Mike was the big thing for me. Like I said, I've worked with Austin and Colin for over a year now. I kind of understand how they value players and what they look for. Just getting to know those two and their thought processes on it, like the debates we had, even you and me, Mike and Corey getting an upfront behind the scenes view of you and me arguing over one player was just a lot of fun. Like, the whole process was, and I'm really proud of what we were able to put together. Major shout outs to Hannah, who really was the driving force behind what it looks like. Like, I just did the grunt work. She did all of it looks so smooth and beautiful. And that was all because of her. Me and Austin just kind of did the grunt work of putting all the stuff in place. So major shout out to her, and Dwight as well, who helped do a lot of the editing behind the scenes. And then again, just Mike and Corey. If you go through Mox, I know we were talking in the chat earlier, you were looking at stuff. If you go through, you're going to see those two on there a lot. They did a lot of the heavy lifting when it came to writing the profiles and looking at these players so that some of us could focus on other things and making sure the guide came out and looked as good as it does.
Yeah, shout out to all those guys. I shouted them out on Twitter today. My only comment is I think, I think I'm not like, we do things slightly different than I think the traditional Devy mindset is here at Campus Canton. I think part of that is because of the Campus to Canton aspect of what we do, where we watch, Alfred's like deep into the 2024 freshman class already. Like we've been to Elite 11s. We're doing interviews with these kids. Like, we watch really far down. So we really aggressively ranked the freshmen in this. I think more so than a lot of other places are willing to do. Not as aggressive as I personally have them in my rankings, but I was vetoed, and maybe rightfully so. But I think that's something you'll just notice, and if you flip through it, I mean, we've got running backs, quarterbacks, wide receivers, pretty much every position. We've got a couple guys ranked really, really highly. This the cheapest they'll ever be. For some of these guys, like we had Nicholas Singleton. I will spoil this guide. So if you don't buy it, you get this one piece of information. Nicholas Singleton is our RB5 in the guide. True freshman running back at Penn State. This is still, if he has even a decent freshman season with Bijan going to the NFL, Bijan Robinson, with Jahmyr Gibbs, with Zach Evans, with some of these other guys, this is the cheapest and the lowest ranked he will probably be for at least 2 years, if not longer than that, if he actually hits. So I think we were really aggressive kind of taking these things into account. And we think that strategically, this is still the right thing. We didn't go overboard. It's not like we have the top 40 receivers and 20 of them are freshmen. We didn't do that. But the top guys, after, you get past a handful of players, there's so much uncertainty. There's no reason not to take these guys that probably have value baked in for a year, that have a lot of upside, and that, again, will probably never be cheaper. So I think that'll be one thing. If you get the guide, if you purchase it, or you're an NIL member with us, thank you very much, or anybody else, that is just one thing that you will notice right away. And I am not ashamed that we did it at all. Zero shame.
I love when we hit a nerve, and we got that feeling when we released the freshman and supplemental draft guide, because within 20 or 30 minutes or so of the guide being released, I got a DM from friend of the show, Kane Fassell, saying, you guys have Emmanuel Henderson ranked, wherever we had him tiered. And I'm waiting for some of those reactions for this guide, because Blake Corum, who might lead college football in rushing this year, is not where you would think the leader of in the NCAA in rushing is going to be ranked. Julian Fleming, can't find him in the draft guide, or in the Devy guide. So
that's not true. There is a mention of him in there, and if you find it, I'll give you something. There's one mention of Julian Fleming. There's no profile. There is a mention of Julian Fleming.
I feel like Matthew's always about to give away something, and it's always that Garrett Wilson jersey.
It is.
He's like, give me the shirt off my back.
I'll
Just starts taking it off. It's like,
so go ahead and purchase the Devy guide, $20 now, or again, sign up for an NIL membership yearly, and you get all three of them for free. So support what it is that we're doing. Play in Campus to Canton formats for one, and subscribe to campustocanton.com. Gentlemen, we got to get back to this segment is fun. I mean, it was episode 9, really early when we started, and we got to go back to fringes. I don't know who should start first. I feel like, I don't know. I'm a little bit scarred from the last time we did this, because you all did not follow up with very hot takes. So but you know what? I'm going to have faith in you guys. I'm going to have faith in you guys playing the game the right way. And if they don't, please leave a 5-star review and ridicule whoever does not play the game the right way. Here's the first take. And when we talk about takes that we're afraid to say out loud, I think it's against consensus, but it might just be a feeling that you have that's not necessarily thoroughly thought out, or an inkling that you have that you're looking for as the season progresses and as you get more information. And so that description perfectly characterizes this first take that I have. And that is that freshman running back Andrew Paul projects better to the NFL than Branson Robinson. Branson Robinson, very highly touted recruit running back there at Georgia. Georgia known for being RBU. But Branson Robinson is very much a locomotive in that I don't know that he has the change of direction that's necessary to be a very good NFL back. And Andrew Paul is the same size as Branson Robinson. He's already 215, 220 pounds. He has very good top end speed, and he has better change of direction. And so, I mean, Branson Robinson is going in the first round every single supplemental draft that you'll have. He's going in around the 5, 6, 7, that range there after Nicholas Singleton, and sometimes he's taken before Texas's Jayon Blue. But I think that there's a chance. Again, this is like, a feeling that I have that Andrew Paul projects better to the NFL because of that, because he combines the lateral agility and he's a better, more fluid mover maybe than Branson Robinson. What is you all's reaction to that take? Chris, we haven't heard from you. Go ahead.
I don't think it's no, I wasn't muted. I don't think it's crazy. Branson Robinson is a lot like Braylon Allen, where they're really, really raw players, but it's really difficult to project them moving forward because they have so much to do in the technical aspect of their game. That I think that's a strength of Andrew Paul, like you said. This is a guy who understands the technical aspect a lot better than Branson Robinson does. And even though I think Branson Robinson is better, bigger, stronger, more athletic dude, it's really it's not that crazy. I still think I want to take Branson Robinson because of all the reasons I gave, he's a really athletic, big guy, but it's not that insane. It's not Graham Mertz to Peyton Manning insane. How about that?
That's right, because I don't know what people are going to come up with after this. So I'm a little scarred. I'm insecure.
I actually don't think that's that hot of a take. I did up until about 6 hours ago when our recruiting channel, and Austin will know what I'm talking about, released a lot of stuff recently about Branson Robinson, and I feel like a lot of us are souring on him pretty quickly based on the stuff that David and Matt at Solving Football and that Big Wide Receiver guy were kind of talking about some of the stuff they found there. I feel like Austin, the original Christopher Columbus on Andrew Paul to begin with, even though Felix has come in and kind of staked that claim and thrown his flag in the ground as that's his guy. I think he's
which
definitely
is actually Christopher Columbus, by the way. That's actually what Christopher Columbus did. So
I do think, obviously we've kind of been the pioneers in pushing him up as much as he has been, but I do think that that's going to continue to rise, especially with the stuff. I don't want to say any of that stuff. I don't know if I can, so I'm just going to leave it at that. But there's just some stuff put out in our recruiting channel today that was kind of interesting on the negative side for Branson Robinson.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to me. Again, I think the Andrew Paul, I've said this a couple times, I think the hype has gotten out of control a little bit on him. I do like him, but small school in Texas, not a particularly strong division there. I know, Felix, you loved Brock Vandergriff, for instance, the year prior. He was beaten up on small school guys, and I think as much as I like Andrew Paul, I think there's a little bit of that same exact thing going on where it's I think it's even a small private school division there in Texas. So, and I just don't think he's going to get realistic opportunity for at least 2 years. So that's going to be the big thing with him. Especially in a pure Devy draft, it would have to be a crazy deep league for me to consider taking him now, because his value is not going to appreciate at all over the next 2 years. So you're going to be sitting there just holding and hoping, and at that point, you're giving up on value elsewhere. So no, I don't think that is a good idea at all. If you're listening to the show, don't do that. Don't do that.
It's the Texas Association of Private and Parochial Schools. Yeah. It's the same division that Deion Sanders coached in when he was a high school or head coach or offensive coordinator, and that Shedeur Sanders, his son, played in. And yes, it is a weak division of high school football, even though it's there in Texas. I'll go to my next one, and this one kind of hurts because I have been supporters of both of these players. They've been ranked in the top 12-ish my wide receiver rankings since they were freshmen. They are now both in their sophomore years. But there's a chance that both Mario Williams and JoJo Earle are just too small to have high ceilings at the NFL or even in college. So it hurts me to say that. But when you look at the players in that range, Wan'Dale Robinson, Calvin Austin, just a fifth-round draft pick. And Calvin Austin, a fifth-round draft pick after having a very, very productive career at Memphis. Rondale Moore, even with exceptional athleticism, these guys have not had high ceilings in the NFL. And then the word is that Rondale Moore, Mario Williams might be used in that low A-dot role again this season at USC. That's just, it's not something I feel good about. I really like both of these players. JoJo Earl reminds me of Dante Hall. Dante may not like that comparison, but the way he moves on the field reminds me of this punt return style. But still, even with the exceptional quickness, the exceptional speed, with the exception of Jalen Waddle, who had over 100 catches this year as a rookie and 1,000 yards. But for the majority of these players, we have not seen them produce at a high level. And so there's a part of me, especially after the Alabama spring game, where JoJo Earl dropped 2 passes, just looked really out of sorts. He was still starting, but you have to be special at that position. You have to have exceptional athleticism. You have to be an exceptional playmaker. And so if Mario Williams is used in this, or we're just going to throw him the ball behind the line of scrimmage and have him run for 5 or 6 yards, and if JoJo Earl is dropping passes at Alabama, they are not going to be, command high draft capital. So that is the second thing that, it makes me feel. Now, it's not stopping me from drafting them where I'm drafting them, but it does keep me up a little bit at night.
I mean, you can tell that Graham Mertz really hurt you last year, because these are really not that bold.
These aren't bold.
Impromptu Judge Devereaux moment here. Your Honor, did opposing counsel not say last year regarding a guy at Hall that spring game doesn't matter at all?
That he did. Yes, you are correct. You are correct, counselor.
I rest my case.
Anything else on those two, or do you want me to go to my next one here?
No, you're good. I think we all. Well, I know we like JoJo. I think some of us have kind of been down on Mario, anyways. So that's not a. It's glad to see that you're joining the group
with JoJo. I'm off JoJo. Actually, I'd rather have Ja'Cory Brooks, and I know it was a topic of debate recently on Campus Life, at least in the last couple of weeks. But I think Ja'Cory Brooks is a lot safer asset than JoJo Earl is right now. I'm really not interested in drafting JoJo Earl in the top 5 rounds, and that's probably where you have to take him.
Why not, Chris?
Why? They continue to bring in and investigate the portal a lot. So it's one thing to bring in multiple receivers, which they did. They brought in 2. They brought in Jermaine Burton, and they brought in whatever his name is from Louisville. And then they were also in on Jordan Addison. So they are clearly, Tyler Harrell. So they were clearly unhappy with their receiving core, and I think that's been a consistent issue. Ja'Cory Brooks was a guy who earned time on the outside pretty much immediately after John Mechie went down. We saw him start in the Auburn game. He made that really great catch at the end of regulation to send it to overtime. I'm really concerned about JoJo Earl. I actually feel much better about Mario Williams than I do JoJo Earl because Mario Williams looked great in the spring game. He was playing a role that I felt pretty confident in, and I didn't feel that way about JoJo Earl. So I am at least concerned, and a lot more concerned about that role. And I love JoJo Earl. I think he's an excellent player, but man, it's hard not to be concerned.
As Austin said, none of those guys are slot receivers. But another concern that we haven't pointed out is that Bill O'Brien, offensive coordinator at Alabama, is not a good track record with slot wide receivers. He just doesn't. So, I mean, if JoJo Earl has some sort of breakout season, that's going to be unique to Bill O'Brien. All right, I got my last one here, and this is not a football take, but it's still spicy. And that is that Sbarro's is one of the best pizza chains. It just, people like to dunk on Sbarro's because it's not New York pizza. It is.
I quit.
It is about as close to Chris is going black too. They've jumped out of the chat. It is about as close to New York style pizza that you can get from a chain. People like dunking on Sbarro's, but if you are in an airport or you are in a mall and you see that thin cheese slice there in the window, oh, you can't tell me that that's delicious. Absolutely delicious. You throw a little garlic, some red pepper. Matthew's still here. Austin and Chris have left the chat.
It needs all these
So
things to be good. You just said
If you load it with
great if I
shit,
add all
it's
these
awesome.
other things to it.
I mean, look, it's great for mall pizza. I mean, let's just be honest. It's great for mall pizza. That's all it is.
Well, people dunk on it because of the Office quote. I mean, that's like the heart of. And Felix, you probably never watched The Office, have you?
No, I'm black, so I've not watched The Office.
Come on, Stanley's on there. He goes to New York, and Michael Scott at one point and says he's like walking down the street, like narrating his trip to New York, and he goes, "Whenever I go to New York, I like to get myself a New York slice." And he walks into Sbarro's, which you can get like anywhere, and that's like the joke.
I do know that scene. That my mother is from New York, and we used to go to New York all the time when we were little. We obviously would go into a pizza shop, and that's like one of the first things we did when we would drive that 12 hours from Kalamazoo, Michigan to Teaneck, New Jersey, right outside of New York. But we would also in Kalamazoo, we would go to the mall and order a cheese pie from Sbarro's and take it home like it was like a regular pizza place. I don't know, if anybody else did that. So Sbarro's,
yeah, I go to the mall to get my pizza all the time. This is the best place to go for pizza.
I didn't realize that it was something that people, poo-pooed. I think until that clip came out, I was like, oh, people really don't like Sbarro's. Sbarro's is excellent. You know what? I'm not even afraid to say that out loud. Sbarro's is excellent. That should be the name of this particular show, is that Sbarro's is excellent. All right, somebody else jump on the mic here.
I thought the goal was to add subscribers, not lose subscribers. So
we're dropping live viewers. I'm sitting here watching the number. It's just dropping like precipitously.
Austin, you want to go first? You want me to go? I mean, I don't know how hot yours is. I don't know if I want to follow that. So
I mean, I think I have a good one. Again, this was December 2020 where I said the Keaton Slovis was on an NFL quarterback. People still really like Keaton Slovis. I think relative to me, that was a very bold take, and I think it's correct. If you're looking for a guy that literally in almost every single analytical category has finished worse than Jake Fromm over his first 3 years in college, you've got a problem, and he does. Keaton Slovis does. On to 6/1/2022, and the rankings on Campus can update at midnight or so. So this will be reflected in my official rankings as of late tonight. If I was on the clock in any sort of Devy, C2C, whatever draft, and I had to take a tight end, the first tight end off the board, I would not take Michael Mayer. I would not take Brock Bowers. I would take Michael Trigg over both of them in any sort of draft. We've talked for months that Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers both have warts on their profile. Mayer is a good, not great athlete, and Bowers, everybody wants to say he's only 230 pounds. He's not going to gain the weight. He's blah, 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 blah. Michael Trigg is 6'3", 6'4", 240 already, doesn't need to gain that much weight. He's much more of a move tight end, but guess what? We just had this debate with Kyle Pitts last offseason. We don't care if guys are good as blockers, and we don't care if they're even going to be used as blockers. If you're using Michael Trigg as a blocker, you've already messed up. That's not what he's going to do. He's going to be the leading receiver this year at Ole Miss. He's going to put up bonkers numbers. He's going to go to the combine in 2 years, and he's going to test better than any tight end in his class probably. This is a guy that I want on all of my rosters. And I think the Devy community has not caught up to the fact that the best tight end in college is not Michael Mayer from Tight End Factory North Notre Dame, and it's not Brock Bowers from apparent new Tight End Factory Georgia. It is Michael Trigg, former basketball player, who's at Ole Miss.
That's not bad. I mean, on the Scoville scale, I feel like that's a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, but it's not bad for Austin. I mean, a 4 from Austin is like, it's burning up. So Mr. Lukewarm gets between hot and lukewarm, like inches closer to might burn you. I do like that. I mean, and he should be an integral part of that particular offense. You got anything else? Anybody else ever? Chris, you were shaking your head down there.
I find it hard to believe that I'm going to invest in a dude who has 7 career catches the tight end 1. Like, I know he's athletic. I know he's going to be really involved in Ole Miss. His spring game was excellent. Like, he was super involved. He looked great. He was making really impressive catches for a tight end. Like, I really thought he was awesome. And I think he's tight end 3. I have the same concerns about Brock Bowers and his size. Like, the dude's 230. Like, he needs to add weight legitimately. I don't think it's super crazy that Michael Mayer is some he's not an uber athlete, but I still think should be ahead of Michael Trigg. Like, we've seen him post ridiculous numbers for a tight end. So that's a little hot for me. And I'll be honest, that might be the hottest thing I've heard Austin say in a long time.
I said it in the chat before the show tonight, in the text chat, that I had one that was going to be the hottest thing I've ever said on the show. And I think
it might be. It might be.
The only thing is, you don't have to take Michael Trigg before Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. And so that's the thing that kind of dilutes your hot take.
My only problem with that, to be honest, is that once one tight end goes in any draft, at least in my experience this offseason, the next 2 are not that far behind him. So if you're sitting anywhere that's not like a turn and you have another pick coming soon, if you like take Mayer or whatever, like the others will be gone by the time it comes back to you. So that I would take Trigg.
I get what you're saying, but to Felix's point, I know some of our ADP isn't. We're still working to update some of it, but like Michael Trigg's still going off the board as tight end 5, like almost 100 picks behind both Mayer and Bowers. So again, it's not like you have to. Yeah, Bauer. Okay, so Michael Mayer's going off the board at 19.7, Bowers at 21, then Michael Trigg 132.7.
Woof.
That must be an error. There's no way.
I'm telling you, there is Jack Beck and Jaleel Skinner are going now. Yeah, again, we haven't fully updated this recent month, so maybe that jumps it. But the last one we have in here, at least unless I'm reading this sheet wrong, I'm looking at the tight end C2C thing right here. He's the 5th tight end coming off the board.
Yeah, the spring game happened in May, so post spring game, I think that when we update, he'll be tight end 3 solidly. I've seen him go round 5 a lot. Which,
I mean, that's still 2 rounds though behind those other 2 guys. I mean, again, you could. I mean, it's still a hot take to say he's going to be better. I don't think he's better than Michael Mayer, just personally.
He's not.
I do.
He could outscore him. He could absolutely outscore him in CFF purposes for the purposes of C2C leagues. If you draft Michael Trigg, 2023 eligible, I mean, he's going to be a very good fantasy asset, probably for this year and next year. So, all right, 2024. Wait, Trigg is 2024.
Yeah, he's 24.
He has this season and next season left in eligibility. All right.
My only other one, and just real quick, is that I still think a healthy Kayshon Boutte is a better prospect than Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Chase might have him slightly beat as a downfield threat, purely based on the fact that he just always gets that little shove in at the catch point.
He pushes off.
But Boutte, in my opinion, is a healthy Boutte, if he hadn't gone down last year, is a better prospect than Jamar Chase. And I don't personally feel that bad saying that, but I think if you say that on Twitter, like the Twitter police will show up and just execute you on the spot.
That's because most of those guys don't know who Boutte is. So I've got 2. I'll save my second one because it's kind of like a direct shot at Felix, so I'll save that one. Ooh, okay. My first one, hey, gotta keep the skit going, right? My first one, everybody is super excited about USC, Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison, Mario Williams. I think Dan Lanning and Oregon have a better 2 years there, and Caleb Williams doesn't make the playoffs, and I do not know that he's a first-round draft pick in 2 years. I'm just not as sold on him as other people are. So there you go. There's my Graham Mertz, because Caleb Williams could end up making me look like a complete idiot, but I I still think he's got a lot to prove. I want to see him go out there and do it against some of these top-tier defenses like Utah. I expect Oregon to be up there as well. And as good as that offense I expect to be, I don't know that they make the playoffs the next 2 seasons. I really don't. I think Oregon and Dan Lanning are going to have a better next 2 seasons. I think Oregon makes it into the playoffs before them, and I'm out on Caleb Williams. But I kind of openly stated that before. It's the hard part for me. I just say whatever I want on this show, and so it's kind of hard for me to come up with hot takes. I just say them anyways. Go ahead.
So Oregon, correct me if I'm wrong, was in the Pac-12 championship last year. You're saying they're going to be in the Pac-12 championship again this year? That's your hot take.
have you looked at Twitter and what supposedly USC is going to do this year and going undefeated and making the Pac-12 championship in the playoffs because they've got Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley?
At Devy Debate on Twitter, please tell me if that is Matthew playing the game the right way or the wrong way.
How is that not? Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams or Dan Lanning and Bo Nix. Like what? I mean, even Moxley's a little. Well, I mean, I think the hotter take is I don't think Caleb Williams is a first round pick. You're just gonna skate right past that part, but that's fine.
Oh, I didn't hear you say that.
Yeah, I did say that.
He definitely has some stuff to improve on. I mean, he's Johnny Manziel. He's the new age Johnny Manziel.
I wasn't going to be that mean, but sure.
That worked out well the first time around.
What are you talking about? He was a first round draft pick.
I'm talking about when you compare somebody to Johnny Manziel, that's not supposed to be a compliment. Is the way I'm putting it to you.
His play style is very similar to Manziel.
It is.
All right.
My second one. I think Jake Garcia is going to at some point in time take the starting job away from Tyler Van Dyke this year, and I think he's a better quarterback.
Oh, man. Getting hot.
That's my second one. I thought Jake Garcia was better last year. I think the injury last year is what caused him to not end up being able to beat out Tyler Van Dyke. I just don't think Tyler Van Dyke is that special. I know a lot of people keep saying he's going to be a first-round draft pick this year. Don't see that either. I think Jake Garcia is better for that offense, just a better quarterback overall. Wouldn't be surprised. Well, I can't say wouldn't be surprised. It's got to be a take I'm afraid to say out loud. I think he at some point beats Tyler Van Dyke out and takes that starting job at Miami this season and is better for that offense than Van Dyke.
The truth is that I almost had a similar Tyler Van Dyke take for tonight's show. Not that Jake Garcia was better than him, but just the fact that Sam Howell being drafted where he was kind of just shook my foundation for how the NFL evaluates quarterbacks. Because is Tyler Van Dyke that much? Is there a possibility for him being that much of a better prospect than Sam Howell? I don't think so. I think that they're very similar stylistically. Some mobility, deep ball passing, gunslinger types. But the NFL just that's exactly what they're looking for. So I don't know if there is anything that makes Tyler Van Dyke substantially different from Sam Howell. And like Sam Howell his last season in college, Tyler Van Dyke has lost all of his weapons. Mike Hartley, Charleston Rambo, no longer there. So he's going to be thrown to a lot of tight ends in Miami. And then he gets, I think that Josh Gaddis and Mario Cristobal are going to be a ball and chain and throw Tyler Van Dyke into the ocean as far as his productivity goes. So, and Chris Moxley does not agree with me on that one. Is that it? Is that all you got, Matthew? Anything else?
I'm a little disappointed. I really thought you were going to come to defend your boy Tyler Van Dyke.
No, I've said some of those things about him since Gaddis and Cristobal went there. So. But I don't think that it's going to be – I don't think Jake Garcia is going to elevate them. So, all right. Moxley, what do you got?
So I have a handful, actually, and I think they're pretty spicy. So I'll kick it off the Caleb Williams one. I think Caleb Williams is quarterback one in Devy and C2C leagues. His freshman season was one of the greatest we've ever seen statistically. Rate stat wise, he had a 99th percentile season in QBR, EPA per play. And yes, he came in as a very raw player, right? And I was really skeptical of him in passing wise because his completion percentage in high school was really poor. He made strides that I did not expect year one. And that was year one. And he was excellent. I think there's a legitimate chance with his rushing upside. He had 559 yards when you take away sack yardage, which was double Bryce Young, which was 4 times what CJ Stroud had, I think there's a legitimate chance, fantasy-wise, that he has that he has the prospect profile, that he has the upside to be quarterback 1. And I think he's going to be a top 3, top 5 draft pick. I think that if he's not, I would be genuinely surprised. I really like Caleb Williams. And so I was shading my eyes when Matt was down on him. I think he's an excellent player. And I think he's a legitimate shot to be quarterback 1. And I think that he should be drafted as such as of now. And I drafted Bryce Young over him, and I'm already regretting it. Like I just think he's an excellent player. And we're only scratching the surface of his potential.
I mean, I don't disagree with that from a CFF purpose. Devy, I'm out on that. But I do. I mean, he's likely going to smash this year just because of how bad USC's defense is. He's going to be on the field a ton. I just think he has a lot to clean up as a passer. And maybe I'm reading too much into what the NFL did at the draft this year. I'm just completely fading these guys who are really athletic, who can run around and not necessarily work from inside the pocket and within structure and be able to actually pass the ball. I need to see that from Caleb Williams before I'm willing to say he's going to be a top 3 pick, because he's got to improve his passing. He just does. We all sit here and talk about how great he was because he made one good pass down the sideline. If you go to some of those other games, he struggled at times passing the ball. Now, again, second year in this system, maybe you're right, but we haven't seen it. So I can't say he's going to be a top 3 pick for me.
The difference that I think with him, which is why I think that it's legitimate to vault him above Stroud and Young, is he did that as a freshman. Both those guys had a year to sit in their systems. And so I think Caleb Williams, what he did, and then what he showed us in the spring game, and yes, it's a bad USC defense, but he was still locating throws. And so that is enough for me to push the envelope with his rushing upside. So that is where Austin, I'm being hot.
I've got a question for you from the judge. I was told that spring games don't matter. Is that true? Or
it's according to Felix, yeah.
Okay, so yeah. I don't care that he was locating in the spring game. Next point.
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled. Or whatever a judge says. I don't know.
You're out of order. This whole thing is out of order.
Give us your next one, Chris.
All right. Trying to decide between one of these next few. I am slightly worried that Jahmyr Gibbs is too small.
That's not a hot take. Come on, man. You can't say slightly worried and it's a hot take.
I am worried that
I'm shitting my pants that Jahmyr Gibbs is too
fine. That is something that I'm slightly concerned about. We can skip that. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the single most overrated Devy asset in leagues.
Please give it to us.
This dude had.
Please give it to us because I love these videos that he is posting on Instagram. He is looking very, very athletic in these videos. So go ahead, Mox.
He has a 7-catch game where he happened to catch 3 touchdowns against a Utah defense that was absolutely reeling in a Rose Bowl game that happened to be super high scoring where we were just chucking it and no defense was played. And that is the only game where we've seen him do anything at this point. And we're ranking him as a top 5 wide receiver, saying he could be more impressive than Xavier Worthy. And I don't even like Xavier Worthy that much. He is super overrated until we see a larger sample size. And I'm someone who will invest in upside, but not at the cost that Marvin Harrison is going, because we simply have not seen enough. And he's posting shit on Instagram. I have seen these draft me commercials from the NFL where they do the same shit, and it's dudes who are not nearly as fast or athletic as you think they are. I think you can do a lot with the jugs machine, the way you angle it and the way that you send a ball off of it. That's all I'm saying. It was impressive, but don't give me that as a reason to draft Marvin Harrison as a top 3, top 4 Devy wide receiver. This dude has not done nearly enough to prove that.
Austin, you got to respond to this one because Marvin Harrison Jr. is your boy. So get on the microphone and talk to Chris on this one.
And you guys were the OGs on him. I actually do think that his value is basically at the top of where it should be. I actually think Igbukah is probably a better value in drafts right now, but sometimes you just got to pay for a good player, man. Like I would be willing to bet pretty much anything he's their wide receiver 2 this year. The wide receiver at Ohio State, the wide receiver 2 at Ohio State is a very valuable player, even if you don't think they're good. Like, it's just the nature of the format. Like, I think he 60 for 1,008 or 9. That feels like a pretty good season for him. I think that he's in that wheelhouse. You can't really call that overrated. That would be a better season than anything Quentin Johnson's ever done. Like, just
better
straight
than what
up.
Xavier Worthy.
Quentin Johnson at TCU versus Marvin Harrison Jr. with CJ Stroud is all.
Let me ask you a question real quick, Moxley. Where did you have JSN last year coming into the season ranked for you?
I had him lower than everybody else did here.
Oh, you idiot.
So that's why. Yeah, look how well that turned out for you, because everybody else was saying
I'm
JSN
lower,
was the next coming of the best wide receiver.
I'm lower on JSN now than anybody. Like,
after
I'm kind of in the Felix
catch.
camp of JSN. Like, I don't think he's a super dynamic, like super high upside NFL player. Like, I think he's really good and solid all around, but I don't think like he's a super high upside guy. And I still have questions about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s athleticism. Like, I don't think that he's a super athlete, despite this stuff that's being posted on Instagram. I thought his athleticism was the worst part of his profile coming in. And I really, really liked him back in like February of last year. I thought he was really underrated. And I felt like he rose way too quickly, and I just don't think we've seen enough.
That's fine.
But what are you gonna do? I'm just trying to be.
But
hot.
we like Quentin Johnston, but you know
who is athletic, who has,
but he hasn't done anything. Well, he did last year. Yeah,
he's at TCU. Why he's that has up CJ Stroud on him? He's got Max Duggan. Like, Max Duggan is not CJ Stroud.
If you're good, it doesn't matter, right?
He's been good with both yards per team pass attempt and his market share data. Like, he's been super impressive in both those numbers, despite playing limited games in both seasons. So, like, I just have a hard time putting Marvin Harrison Jr. above a guy that we've seen do it. And like, if Quentin Johnson's the barometer, like, I have no issue with putting.
But my last thing on that, it goes to what Austin said earlier with our Devy guy and our freshman ranks. Sometimes you just got to take that shot because it's the cheapest you're going to get him. Like, whether you think his value is high or not, this is the cheapest you're going to get him, because he's going to go out there and blow up this year. He's going to have, in my opinion, probably a top 12-ish wide receiver year for fantasy. And that's going to just vault him up to even higher. So
I will say two things about Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that his play style does not require elite athleticism. If you look at the players on his spectrum that I think are included on the spectrum, Deontay Johnson, I would put G. Scott is the same type of player. Like these guys who are
now we're talking. Let's go.
What I mean
is
T.
Higgins.
I think that he has more suddenness to his game than T. Higgins. But I mean, you know, we'll see. But the other thing I was going to say, the particular drill that you were mentioning, where he is standing next to the jug machine, putting the ball in, and it's going up. That is not that. Yes, that is a test of his acceleration to get to the ball, but that is a ball tracking drill. Because he is not looking at the ball as he's sprinting to get it. He's looking at it when it's coming down on its arc, has to find it and catch it over his shoulder, which is that's really what that drill is intended to. Because when you're playing wide receiver, you want to look back at the last possible moment to avoid your defensive back hitting at your hands and all this other stuff. So that's what that drill is actually.
His ball skills are excellent. Like, I don't think that's a knock on his game at all. Like, I think he's really good ball skills. And I've always felt that about him. I always thought that he was a really technically sound wide receiver. I just always questioned his athleticism. And we're looking at this video, and everyone on Twitter is saying, "Oh, look at his burst, look at his speed." I'm like, okay, like, he's still a guy who I think has an average athletic profile at best. Like, I just don't see that same upside yet. And maybe Matt's right. Like, I'm just too low to come around, and I'll just be wrong this time next year. It's the same way I feel about a couple other players like Jackson Dart, who we're just vaulting up for limited sample sizes without actually seeing the results play out. It's just hope.
I think a big thing that you're kind of getting at here that you're not saying, like, if you look at rankings, how many players do you have to go down before you feel like you start really questioning a player? Like the quarterbacks, there are probably 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah,
It's not that
absolutely.
In college, like at wide receiver, probably 4 or 5 guys. Like it's not a big tier up there. So in reality, like after those handful of guys, like you can really put anybody there, and it kind of is like, well, I can't really argue with that.
I agree with that. I think your question becomes how confident are you in projecting upside and projecting outcomes, and I think. Like I'm someone who aggressively ranks freshmen, right? That is something that I do consistently because I believe in upside. But when we've had a chance to see a player, there is always the ask for more until they do more. And so that's the question that I have with Mark Harrison. Like, what is his actual upside? We saw him do great things. We saw him do great things in a limited sample, but is that something sustainable? Does it deserve a top 5 ranking? I don't know. And so that's like him going mid-second round in Devy drafts. I think he becomes one of the more overrated assets in Devy.
All right, Mox, give us one more before we close this out.
I think there's a better chance that Sean Tucker goes day 3 than he does round 2. I don't know if that's that hot, but I'm really skeptical of a Syracuse back, who I don't think is an excellent receiver. I think he's a fine receiver who can do it because Garrett Schrader can't throw deep. I think he's fine at getting checkdowns, but I don't think he's a really good receiver. I think he has really great speed. I think that there are some technical aspects of his game that he needs to work on, but there's a way better chance that he's a day 3 pick than he is a guy that I really want to be investing in Devy leagues. Like I don't want Sean Tucker on my team based on where he's going. I'm pretty off Sean Tucker. Like, I don't think he's a great receiver. And I think that's going to really hurt his profile, especially Syracuse.
You can get our breakdowns of all of these players that we discussed today in the Devy Guide, just $20. And of course, the Devy Guide, $20. But there's a lot of content on at campus2canton.com that is absolutely free. We're trying to expand this format and produce all the content that we can to help you win in these leagues. All right, that is going to be our show for tonight. For Austin Nace and Chris Moxley and Matt Bruning, I'm Felix Sharp. Good night and good luck.
Oh, welcome to the after show. Is Hannah not coming in here or what? What's up with that? Okay, well, welcome to the after.
She said
you
she
can ease into it, man. Whoa, hold on, jeez, Jesus, like geez,
it's been a minute.
You don't have to just jump into it. I mean,
Mike hasn't dated in a while. This is news to him.
I missed you guys. I've had COVID, been on weddings and stuff. But anyway, welcome to the after show, and we're gonna be talking with the bananas Hannah out there. It's gonna be Hannah Lay, and I'm gonna talk to her about her Devy Guy experience and her upcoming articles whenever she's ready to pop up.
You got to carry the show yourself. You got to monologue until Hannah comes on. I can see her; she's coming on, but you have to monologue for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Before she comes on, you can do that.
This is your.
Yeah, I got you. I'll talk about.
We're
the
trying
guy.
to groom you.
I'm like, that's not a good word nowadays, political climate, but okay. I'm like halfway through the Devy Guide, and I don't know, man. Everyone's a day 2 pick now. All of a sudden, you're reading the Devy Guide. And I feel like when you Austin's like funny because Austin puts in the chat, he's like, my Grammarly says that Mike Valerie is 75% negative. And I'm just like, that makes sense because I'm out here saying people are UDFAs, people are day 3 picks, and
I'm click your stuff and it just gives me a big frowny face like immediately. Like this little face pops up in the corner, and every time Mike's one, it was frowny.
I'm reading some profiles and I'm like, yeah, I think this guy is basically dust. And over here I got like people being like, oh, he's potential day 2. Hannah, welcome.
Your guests.
Okay, never mind. Okay, we'll keep going. Hannah, welcome. You're muted. Immediately muted.
Or Mike's not on or something. Yeah.
I'll just talk to Chris. Chris, welcome back from Europe, by the way. I missed you. I really did miss you. I liked all your pictures, by the way. I really did. I was trying to add some funny stuff to it. I thought my spaghetti joke was underappreciated.
Listen, the comment game that you had on some of the picks were unrivaled. I really felt like you did a good job on some of those. I am struggling so far since I've gotten back. It's it is quite the issue
The
staying
jet.
up past like 8:30.
The jet lag and stuff. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
jet lag's killing me so far. But
that's cool.
no, the
I told-
commentary was great. I thought you had some really clever ones. Some were hit or miss, some were but
Okay. All right.
I felt like you really hit some out of the park. So A minus work. A
I
plus would have
appreciate
been
it.
perfect, but A minus for sure.
Appreciate it. I want you to know that I offered my wife a free trip to Europe that would last 3 years, and she said no.
Would you have been in the military and
Yeah,
been
yeah.
deployed somewhere? I thought.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got offered to go to Vicenza, and I was like, everyone loves Vicenza. And
I was offered to go to Estonia. My wife said no.
Man, have you read the Devy Guide yourself, Chris? Have you made your way through it at all?
So I did start reading it today. Actually, I had seen a couple previous iterations of it and had checked out a couple of profiles that I was really interested in, but today I really got a chance to sit down and look through a good chunk of it, and I was really impressed with the work that all of y'all did. Actually, it was really good to see different perspectives because all of y'all wrote in different ways, and I felt like it was really. I think Matt said this pre-show, but he was saying like it gave me different perspectives on how y'all evaluate and how I can kind of adapt my process and kind of think about it a little bit differently too. And so I really enjoyed reading different people's write-ups more than anything. Because I was like, okay, well, yeah, I know how Austin feels. Austin hates everybody. I know how Matt feels. Matt loves Common Core. But like reading you and Corey and y'all's work, I felt like I had a new perspective on a lot of different players. And so I really appreciated that aspect. But I mean, I've only read players that I'm super interested in so far. So at one point I'll sit down and read through the whole thing. But it was really great. Like I thought y'all did a really excellent job.
Yeah, and thank you guys always for giving all this appreciation too. Like I love it. Love working with you guys. Love being part of the group. You know how it is. Now I think our guest is ready. Hannah, are you ready? Nope, you're not ready. Good try. Oh man.
Hannah's like, I'm ready. Just still muted.
That's funny.
Listen, eventually when we make the big bucks, we are going to have a producer and do the behind the scenes stuff behind the scenes, but we are not in the big money yet.
You should get your boy Jared Wackerly over here.
We're in front of the scenes.
Jared Wackerly definitely has the big money to do this.
Yeah.
I actually heard Jared Wackerly was driving a Bentley recently. Is that true?
I have no idea, but I'm going to text him right now.
Yeah, I do remember Rich Dotson posting his new car. It was like a really nice BMW.
What about
I actually had Austin's private pilot.
Okay.
In Europe, he was helping me out with a couple different things. So I really appreciate what he was doing for me.
All right, Hannah, how are you doing tonight?
Well, where's Felix? Last time I was channeling Chris with my Hawaiian shirt, and now I've got a robe on for Felix.
Oh, Felix, where's the robe?
That's Austin who wears. I mean, not Austin. That's Colin who wears the robes.
Yeah. Oh,
okay. That's Colin. Yes.
Well, Hannah, she's drinking out of her WKU cup. She stays on brand. It's a red robe too.
T-shirt too. It's 24/7. Go Tops.
Nice.
Go Tops.
Can you tell us about what role you played in the Devy Guide?
I created the cover and kind of like the outline for, I don't know what you want to call those pages for each player. I didn't
each write-up page.
I didn't do the write-ups obviously, but I designed it.
Yeah, I think it's really important to give people this recognition because a lot of the behind the scenes stuff is like a thankless job. And so I like how our founders here have really thanked a lot of people, but I wanted to get you on here and just to talk about what you did and stuff like that too. Because like Dwight, for example, he edits a lot of our pages too, but I know that he edits a lot of Dynasty Nerds too. And I don't know his full range that he has, but it's pretty amazing. And it's pretty amazing to think about how much stuff he has his hand involved in. And again, one of those background people that don't get thanked enough for what they do. So
Well, I mean, I just kind of copied Lindy's sports cover
Oh,
and
really?
just made it a Devy guide. Matt,
and then each page write up, how many different like templates did you go through, or did you just like got hit right away?
Matt started it, and then I kind of honed in and perfected it best I could. So I did, one for quarterback, one for tight end,
right,
etc. So really, I didn't have to do a whole lot.
So what didn't you like that Matt did? What did you need to change? Were you like, damn, Matt, this is stupid?
He had a good start.
You can go ahead and say it.
I always liked seeing what people do and what they're going for, what they're trying to go for, and then interpreting client needs.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a nice HR speech right there.
Yes.
That's awesome. I also want to talk to you about your project coming up here, the 411.
Oh, the Big Ten.
I know. I've been missing them. I'm really going to look forward to the Big Ten because I think when it comes to NFL draft stuff, it's usually the SEC has the most prospects each year, but number 2 actually tends to be the Big Ten. So I'm really looking forward to your Big Ten article because when it comes to Devy and NFL draft and stuff like that, the Big Ten is more relevant than people think they are.
Yep.
Any sneak peeks?
Well, I had the question of which teams did I pick, and I think Austin, he was right about Purdue. And then I can't remember, someone else said one that was right, but I just kind of selected the teams that I know quite a bit about or are interesting or aren't talked about a whole lot. And then I realized there was a connection between each of them, and I'm not biased, but if you can guess which teams I picked based on not being biased.
No, I don't want to guess. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. But if you want to give it up, first off, okay, I'm going to spoil something for myself. Did you write about Curtis DeVille and Purdue?
I'm writing about Purdue.
Yeah, but Curtis DeVille, the player.
Oh, I haven't gotten to that point.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, just write it down. Make a note.
Yes.
Next freshman stud coming to Purdue. I
don't talk a whole lot about freshmen in my 411s, but if the opportunity is there, I do.
Got you. Yeah. Also, I just want you to know, I saw you name drop Kobe Hudson. I reread your old articles for tonight. You name drop Kobe Hudson and your UCF right up in the AAC. I'm seeing him go up in C2C drafts. So I want you to know that me and you both are Devy influencers. You can go ahead and add that to your profile now. You can just be, I'm an influencer because we are influencing the markets right now.
I try.
Yeah. Also, you didn't ask, but I wanted to give you some advice on the walkout dance for a wedding. Okay. So, because I've been to a few, I just want you to know, I hope your husband your fiance, sorry, not husband yet, listens to this because I need you to just picture this, right? This knocks the crowd out. Okay. Okay. You're walking out. You're like halfway there, whatever you do, that lame white person, like we're raising the roof as we're walking out type of thing, got the hands up. Okay. And the fiance stops. He's looking good. He's looking like Doug Dimmadome from Fairly Odd Parents, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome. He's got that great suit on, hopefully gold belt. Anyway, he stops. He got like one hand on the leg, one hand on his knee. And he's like holding the chest, and people are going to be like, "Oh my God, is he going to throw up? Is he okay? Okay." And he holds that for like 2 seconds. Of course, you're behind him, like being like, "Oh, baby, okay," or whatever pet name you use for him. And then all of a sudden he stops and he looks back a little bit and he does like, 2 pumps, just looks back at it, and just does like the horrible twerk technique type of thing. And the crowd goes wild, like, "Oh, he's okay."
I trust you on this.
Okay. I hope he listens to it and he gives it a go. You guys can do it behind closed doors, close the blinds. And
I need to YouTube video this or something because I don't know what this is. I watched Fairly Odd Parents, but I can't.
Oh, no, the dance isn't from there? That's just something that I do. I don't know if I explained it well enough, but I don't think I can go back twice and have her listen twice.
Shoulder bop. Like,
that's
is
it.
the extent of my dancing.
Do you have like no showmanship?
No.
Wait, you need to get a little bit of pizzazz, a little razzle dazzle when you go out there.
Jazz hands.
That could work. You can incorporate that.
Jazz hands.
Throw like a bird out of your sleeve, and people are like, "Whoa." Yeah. Anyway, have you read the Devy Guide, by the way?
I started it.
It's pretty big.
It's an undertaking.
Is there anything that you thought popped out or anything that you liked about it?
I just
Anything?
love the detail that everyone goes into. But of course, I love the stats too, just recapping all the stats
Okay.
that are
Yeah.
there. But yeah, just the amount of detail that goes into each player and all you all did was amazing. But not any particular person so far.
Yeah.
Now I kind of had an idea of who was like the first few, so it wasn't a huge surprise
Right.
because I had
no
to ask questions to Matt to create the whole thing.
Oh, nice. No Devy. No, sorry, not Devy. No WKU players. Were you upset about that?
I mean, always, because they're number one in my heart.
Right. Should have had Mitchell.
Well, how
Tinsley
did
down
you
there.
feel about Zappy going to your Patriots?
I mean, I was super upset that whole night. And if you actually watch our live draft, I actually got COVID that night. So you can actually see me deteriorate because I was just like, I knew I got COVID. As soon as it happened, I was like, damn, my wife had it. I know I got it. But we took a special teamer in the second round. So I was pretty upset about that. And then our third round picks were both corners from Houston. We took a corner from Houston I like, but he's undersized. Anyway, but then Bailey Zappi, I was like, we could have waited. We could have gotten Sam Howell if we wanted to there. And I guess he fits our scheme of like a pocket passer, doesn't need to move much. And our backup quarterback is Brian Hoyer. He's 42 years old, I think. So he's gone. So anyway, so we need a career backup, and that's what Bailey Zappi is going to be, hopefully.
It made sense to me that Belichick would want the smart QB.
Yeah. Is he smart?
Oh, yeah.
You know that for a fact?
Yeah.
What's his GPA? What are his grades?
Can't tell you that. No, I don't know. I know people who do, but I'm not going to ask.
Okay, all right.
But didn't he have the highest? What's that test they take?
Is it Wonderlic? I can't remember.
Yeah, I know.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the Wonderlic.
They don't really publicize it that much, but I'm actually definitely curious about it.
He scored the highest, but I know people say it doesn't really matter. But when it's Zappy who scored the highest, then of course it means the most. Right.
The highest all time, I believe, is Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I don't know. I just kind of threw that out there.
Harvard? Is he Harvard or?
Oh yes, he was. I think he was. Yeah. I think you got that right, which makes sense then. I guess now that makes sense.
My fiance looks like Fitzpatrick. He looks like Conor McGregor and Ryan Fitzpatrick.
So he's a stud.
I mean, yeah.
Oh. Okay, don't bring him on screen, okay? I don't know if I can hold myself back.
He's got a broken nose.
Oh.
Just like Connor.
Damn, did you do that to him?
Yeah.
Oh. The next Amber Heard?
Yeah, I was just about to say, another Amber Heard in the making. It's a small, quiet ones.
Damn. I hope not. I gotta lock my door now. How many, I think this might already be in one of your files, but how many 411 articles are you planning on doing before the season starts?
All of the conferences.
Oh, really?
Which I always bite off more than I can chew. So
yeah, they're long. They're really detailed. I love it. And just because no one hears to argue this, I actually pulled it up because I wanted to talk about the Tyler Van Dyke slander that was on this podcast.
I was about to say,
yeah.
I'm glad that I put that one little sentence in there about Garcia.
Oh, well, I was going to read about his inefficiency to start, but then he finished just the last 6 games going 157 of 238 for I'm going to round up, a 66% completion rate, 2,194 yards, and then his touchdown interception ratio was 20-3. And that was about 365 yards a game. And just for anyone who's listening, this is like my opinion about how I view quarterbacks. Is that there's some that are trucks and there's others that are trailers. I think Tyler Van Dyke is a truck and his team is the trailer. He is the one carrying his team, his offense to like victory. I mean, we just saw Charleston Rambo break records and he went undrafted. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Tyler Van Dyke is the man driving that team. And
yeah, oh yeah.
I know the word is just the receivers are terrible this year and they're not getting that praise or whatever. They don't seem to take the step forward. I think if Tyler Van Dyke replicates last year's stats, which I feel like he can, then I think he's going first round. I mean, I think he's just an absolute stud. So
well, and him carrying the team, you look at yards per pass attempt. That correlates with wins. His 9 I think the 9 yards per pass attempt was either the first or second in the conference, and that correlates with wins. So, I mean, I always have a hard time thinking about the individual. I love team wins. I love stats
Right.
so it's always hard to evaluate a player as an individual. So I'm still learning that.
Okay. I actually struggle with the scheme and stuff, so we're like on the exact opposite.
Yeah.
That's why I love listening to the Devy Debate, because they talk more about the coaches. They even mention Graham Mertz, stuff like that. I pick up these names now, and I'm feeling really good about stuff and identifying schemes and stuff like that. But I'm glad you and me are on Tyler Van Dyke's train, because they're gonna miss out, and it's okay. They can miss out. Well, Hannah, I don't really have much else to talk about tonight. Do you have anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to say to our guests? Our listeners.
How many are there out there?
There's always a few, and they listen the next day. I actually have no idea what our numbers are, but just anyway.
At least 1 million.
At least 1 million. That's probably right. Anything you want to say at all?
This cold coffee is real nice.
Right before bed?
At this hour?
I've got a massive headache, so got to take care of it.
You might have COVID.
I've had it. Not recently, so I could have it.
Damn. Corey P says great graphics, or great job on the graphics. Oh, everyone's coming
Thanks. I
back now.
copied Lindy's.
What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on Jake Garcia, Hannah? I'm curious to learn or hear.
You can read the article, Matt.
Yeah, come on, man.
I just did.
Come on.
I mean, I read it before. I didn't remember seeing anything about Garcia in there. Did I miss it?
Yeah, the last sentence. Well, it was the last sentence.
Yeah, it was just a sentence. Does he beat out Van Dyke? Yeah, so I was curious if she had any other thoughts on Garcia. That was all.
Not really. I'm there with Mike. And I just think right now Van Dyke's the one driving, and it's hard to, unless there's something going on in practice that we're not seeing. It just seems like it's Van Dyke.
Gotta wait till next year, Matt.
Nah, it'll happen this year.
Also, because we honeypotted Austin back, I want to call out Austin here. Austin, first off, offers me to take a team, and he's like, "I'll send you over the roster." I'm like, "Cool." Doesn't send me the roster. I messaged him again. Can you send me over the roster? He just sends me a link to the league, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna trust Austin. This team's gonna be okay." I click on this team. It is not great.
I did not offer to show you the roster. I said, does anybody want to take over an orphan? You said, sure.
I said, "Sure, can I see the team?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'll send you."
You should take that as complicit trust that Austin just believes you can rebuild anything, Mike. That should be a sign of, just the ability and the love that Austin has for you, and the trust that he has of you as a fantasy player, that you can just rebuild anything.
Love was a good word.
All right. Well, I actually already made my first move in that league. I texted it to Austin, and Austin immediately was like, "That's a heist." And I was just like, "Sure it is." So we're on our way. I'm currently right now, we'll just talk some draft strategy or trading strategy. I have 2 decent quarterbacks. Got Jackson Dart and I got Cape Klubnik on this team. I'm trying to flip them for a little bit plus. Like, I'll take a slight downgrade at quarterback because I'll draft good quarterbacks at NFL level, and I'll try to upgrade a different position. So I'm trying to trade for like the freshmen coming in. People are like, "Oh, I don't know if Drew Aller or Ty Simpson's gonna be good." So I'll trade for them, roll that dice, and I'll try to get like an upgrade like running back or something like that. Okay, I don't know. I just wanted to include my thoughts around the trading.
Well, that's going to do it for tonight's show, folks.
Yeah, that is going to do it for tonight's show.
Who's the Ohio State fan?
That's Matt.
Well, I will say that about the Big Ten, I'm not talking about Ohio State.
That's disappointing in so many ways, but that's all right. I think I do enough of it for the whole channel. So
there's
so
no point. Let
Sure
me tell you something you already know about Ohio State.
I like it. Like, I'd read it. There's a lot of us out there. We'll read. We love to read great things about our team.
So I'm sure you'll love who I chose instead.
Please tell me you did not write up that team up north. Anybody else but that team. Anybody else. I will. That's fine. I'll just skip that part.
The team that takes offensive talent and then ruins their NFL careers so they can't translate. That team.
Pretty much.
That team. All right. Well, thank you, Hannah, for joining us. Can one of the founders cut the feed already? Like, come on.
Oh, that's what you wanted from us.
Oh, just end the show.
I'm giving the
just
signal,
end it
like,
horribly,
multiple
like
times.
Colin ended the Devy God one. Just this is Mike, and then just like leave it in silence for like 3 minutes, and when nobody
Purposely
says
make it
anything.
awkward.
You missed
tried to
that
hit him
too.
with the "This is Call" and "This is Austin," and no one else
Yeah.
was in on it.
I wanted to be like, this is Patrick.
No, this is